For today's webinar. Today we are going to be talking about printing labels, but we're going to go into how to select the people that you need to get labels out to. So basically this is going to be step one when you go into reporting and pick labels. I also want to point out that for the webinar, the outline that I'm following is from one of our workbooks. It's Membership 103, specifically pages 10 through 13. So if you find you want this information in a hard copy or printout with pictures that you can keep on hand, you can head out to our website and you can purchase the M103 workbook that includes this section and some other helpful information on reporting in Church Windows. That can be done at www.churchwindows.com. All right, before we jump into the topic, couple things about how the webinar works. There is a place for you to ask questions. So if you have any questions that are about the topic itself, that are about labels and the criteria that we're going to use, feel free to ask those questions. Kellyanne's listening in, so just expand the little question section on your GoToWebinar toolbar and she'll get you an answer for that. Looks like we have a question already. What are the page numbers again? It's 10 through 13, Maggie, and that's in M103. So feel free to ask questions. Please keep them topical. If you have a specific question about your data for who you need to get labels for, that will be better answered with a support call or an email to support@churchwindows.com, and we can get you an answer that way because there are a lot of you and only 2 of us. Also, if you have a question that just has nothing to do with what we're talking about too, we want to help you, we want to answer you. This setting isn't going to be the best place to do that. Please shoot us an email once again to support@churchwindows.com or give us a call and we can get you with the tech that way. All right, so let me pull up Church Windows. I want to point out that we're going to be covering our topic in version 1916.2. It's up here in the top right. If you're not seeing this version, you're seeing an older version, you can head out to the website and download and get up to current, which is 1916.2. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Membership. So from Membership, to get to Labels, I'm going to click on Reports right here in the middle, and then jump down here to our labels option. So something to keep in mind, when printing labels, you have a lot of options for you being able to put in the specific criteria that you need to get labels to certain people. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of different tabs across this screen here of the different criteria you can put in for the people that you need. Now, if you just work in membership or you don't own the donations module, you don't want anything to do with the donations module, these 2 tabs across the top, we're going to go over them, but I want to take a second to point this out. The giving, pledging, and the accounts, if your criteria has nothing to do with what's in the donations module, you can skip over or not even go to these 2 accounts here. I'm going to go into them in a minute to explain your options or possibilities for criteria, but keep in mind if you don't use donations or your criteria has nothing to do with what people gave, what they pledged, or your giving accounts, you don't even need to go to those tabs, okay? Just skip right on over them. All right, so for the example from the book, they're talking about how to create labels for a newsletter mailing, which is a really common thing or help that we give people here when they call in support. So we're going to go over common criteria for creating newsletter labels, and then also how to save the criteria so you don't have to come back into this screen and re-enter it once a month or every 2 weeks or however often you send out a newsletter. All right, so a couple things I want to show you here on the People tab. So we're starting right here on the People tab. This is going to be the first tab that is going to open when you come into Labels. Your top box, right in the top left, it says Select a Membership Field. If you hit the down arrow, you have so many options in here for the criteria or being able to pick out who you need to get labels for, okay? So this first screen is really about the who you need to generate a label. So if you scroll down through the list, you can see all the different options you can pull from membership. So you could pull people with a specific directory report or excuse me, sorry. People of a certain gender. You could focus in on people and how they came to membership, how they joined your church, people that have a last name that starts with the letter S. You know, you can do all kinds of stuff in here. But specifically for newsletter labels, the most commonly used criteria is this mailing code criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Mailing code is listed on the left-hand side in membership with your other family information like their address, home phone number, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pick mailing code because that does seem to be the most popular. And of that mailing code, I'm going to check the different items that pertain to who I need to send a newsletter label to. So I want to get my people that want all mailings. They want every mailing that we send out. I'm going to get my out-of-towners. They also want their newsletter. And then I'm going to get my newsletter-only people. So these are the people who just want the newsletter. They don't want any other mailings that we send. So once I have my criteria picked, I have to come down here and hit this plus selection button. Okay, that's that big green plus sign. The plus selection button, after clicking it, pops the criteria down to the lower half of the screen. That's what actually inputs the criteria. Okay, so that's where you tell it, this is who I want. Now, if you pop something down here and realize, oops, that's not what I wanted, you can come over here and remove the line. Or if you have a couple different things down here and you decide you don't want them, you want to start over, you can go ahead and hit this clear all option. And that'll get rid of everything down at the bottom. Okay. Now, I want to also point out these add features over here, specifically the and the or. Okay, so if you have another piece of criteria that you want to put in, let's say, for example, we want everybody that has one of the following mailing codes that we selected, and we just want females. If that's the case, then we would have to hit the and button. That will create a second line, and then we can come back up to the top. I think it's under gender. And then we can check female, and then we can add that selection too. So down here at the bottom, you can just input one line of criteria, or you can build on it and have multiple things. So if you use and, that means the criteria on either side of the and, the person who's going to get a label, it has to meet both. So the only people that would get a label for this setup would be females that have a family with a mailing code of A, B, or NL. Now, if we did or instead of and between the two, that means it would get us everybody that has a mailing code of one of these or all our females. Okay, so keep in mind, if you need and, they need to meet both criterias, or if you do or, they just have to meet one of the criterias. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the line to get rid of these because I want to follow what's in the book here. Now, top right-hand corner, you have some more options. Giver numbers. If you specifically just want people who have a giver number, you can uncheck this box, okay? Or vice versa. Say you want people who have numbers 1 through 300. You can put that information right in here. Now, with that being said, if your mailing, which is a newsletter mailing, has nothing to do with giver numbers, just skip completely over this section. You don't have to put anything or change anything in here, okay? Lower section down here. Let me grab my highlighter for you. By default, right now, we're including all of our membership members and all of our membership visitors, okay? If you decide for this mailing you only want members, then you would simply come over here on the right and you would remove the check mark next to visitors if that's what you need. Same thing, if you have membership groups checked, it's going to give you a label for every single membership group that you've set up in groups and classes. Most of the time you're going to want this unchecked, but you have the option to include them if you ever need to. Donations individuals and donations groups. If you don't use donations, don't worry about this section. It's not going to affect you. If you do use the donations module, these two check boxes, if they are checked, are going to include those individuals or those groups that have been directly entered into the donations module. Okay? If you don't want those people, leave them unchecked. All right, so that covers the first tab, the People tab. I want to come up here next to Giving and Pledging. Once again, if you don't use donations or what you're doing doesn't pertain to the donations module, completely skip this tab. But I want to show you that you do have options to pull labels from membership depending on people's giving or pledging. Okay, so you can pull people who have just given, who just gave in a certain range, or people who haven't given. Same thing for pledging. If you need to pull out all of your pledgers for 2017, you have the option to do that right here. Over on the right, you have some more options for who you want. If you want people who have received statement or give with their family, the date range you want, say you want labels with giver numbers, that can be done as well, and you can specify the numbers you want to use as of what time frame. Okay, so if, say the end of the year comes, we have a document on this on our website, but say the end of the year comes and you need to get your labels printed with the envelope numbers you've assigned for next year, you can do that by using this box here. All right, the Accounts tab. This is also donations. This is also another donations tab. If you want to pull people specific to the accounts they gave to or the campaign they've pledged to, that can be done by selecting a campaign from the drop box here or moving accounts over to the right to be selected. So say I just want people that gave to general fund, I can use these two tabs together to only pull those people. All right, the last tab and one of the most important tabs, and I think a lot of people don't realize is here, is the Sort tab. This tab is crucial for setting the order that you want your labels to print out in. Okay, so you have a bunch of options here you can pick from. Most common one for labels is either going to be zip code or alphabetical. Those are the two that I find people use most often. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with alphabetical here. That will give us name order by last name in alphabetical. Okay, let me go ahead and show you down at the bottom how this saved selections work. Okay, so this is the last part of what I'm going to cover today. So if you have questions, feel free to type those in. So Save Selections is awesome because it remembers everything that you've put in these tabs above. Okay, so if you have, say, 4 or 5 different pieces of criteria that you put in here to pull your people for your newsletter mailing, which some people do, that's fine, you can come down here to the bottom and save it so you don't have to re-enter that each time. So we can hit this little floppy disk here. Let me grab my highlighter so you can see it. So once you go through all of your tabs and set your sort order and get all of your criteria inputted, come down to the bottom, hit the little floppy disk first, and then you're going to enter the name of your saved selection. So I'm going to call this monthly news, let me capitalize that or it's going to bug me, newsletter mailing. Go ahead and hit OK, and it's going to save it. So any saved selections you've done in the past, you can have as many of these as you want. So any type of criteria you use in the program that you're going to be using regularly, I recommend saving it. And that's going to save you time the next time you come in to run your labels. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit Next here. And I'm going to actually close out and reopen so I can show you where you go to find that save selection next time. So back to reports, back to labels. I don't need to pick anything on any of these tabs. I'm just going to come down to the bottom. I'm going to hit the down arrow, choose my monthly newsletter mailing, and there's my criteria that I picked. It's remembered everything over here. I'm going to go up to sort, and I can see that it's still my alphabetical sort, which is what I want, and then I just hit next. Okay, so it's going to plug everything back in. You hit your next button. So you've picked all your first people on, or all your people that you want on the first step. You get to step 2, and then this is where you would set up the specifics for the layout of your label. All right, looks like we have a question here from Amanda. She's asking, can you save criteria from making directories and reports as well? Amanda, definitely. And they're all related. So if we go into reports and reports directory export, for example, all of your saved selections are all going to be saved here. So if you save something in labels and then you save a criteria for how you want your directory run, or a report that you need to pull monthly, saving that selection, they're all going to be organized in this box down here, whether you're in the label screen or the reporting screen. Great question. All right, guys, that covers everything I had to go over with you today for the step 1 in labels. If you have any questions, please type those in. We have 3 minutes left. We have some extra time. So if you have any questions you'd like me to go over in these last couple minutes, put them in, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Also, if you don't have any questions and you've gotten the information that you were looking for, you can also leave the session. That's fine as well too. Sarah's asking, she says, I've inherited the program, and some of the saved lists don't make sense. How do I clear them out? Great question. Let me go back in here to step 1. There is a little minus sign down there at the bottom. So let me grab my highlighter so you can see it. Right here is your delete, the little red minus. So all you would have to do is select the one that you're wanting to get rid of and then hit the minus sign, and it'll ask you, do you want to delete it? And you can either say yes or no. All right, if you guys are in the middle of typing, go ahead and send it so I don't cut you off. But questions seem to be pretty slow, so I'm going to go ahead and close up a little bit early here then. All right, no more questions are coming in. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope you learned something new today that'll help make your job a little bit easier. And have a good one. Bye.